welcome to the EYFS Foundation Stage 2 Maths Workshop for Highwood Primary School. This workshop is designed to help parents and carers to gain an understanding of how maths is taught within Highwood in order for children to meet their early learning goals. It will also include some slides on how the parents and carers can use this information to support their children at home, and at the end we'll also include some helpful resources that are available. So let's start by reflecting on your own feelings about maths and how this might influence your child's attitude towards it. So take a few moments to pause and have a look through the questions. How do you feel about maths? What was your experience and confidence about maths at school? What is your experience and confidence now? Has it changed in any way? Has it gotten better? Has it stayed the same? Has it gone worse? Are you presenting maths in a positive way? Do you encourage maths to take place? Do you promote its importance and explain why it's so important? So the reason that we are reflecting on this is because it's important to foster a positive attitude towards maths for young learners. We want them to be engaged and excited around maths, and sometimes our own feelings about maths can rub off onto the children. So it's just about taking a moment to think about how we present maths at home, whether we can make any differences there. So in order for you at home to understand what we teach in reception and how we assess children in reception, I think we can look at some documents that show what it is that we assess in children in reception. This document is taken from Development Matters, and it outlines the developmental stages of a child in various areas. For example, on screen, you can see that for maths, reception age children should be able to do the following. We use this document to help guide our judgments of where children are currently and what their next steps may be. Whilst the early learning goals, which we'll get onto in the next slide, assesses children at the end point, the Development Matters helps us to break this down into smaller steps. So for example, if a child is not hitting any of these, we might look at children aged 4 to 5 or children aged 3 to 4 to see where they are, what they're currently doing, and what their next steps will be. So we also assess children on the early learning goals. The early learning goals are part of the EYFS framework and represent the expected outcomes for children by the end of reception year. The goals are split into two areas, number and numerical patterns. They provide a foundation for future learning in maths, ensuring that children are prepared for year 1 and beyond. So if you have a look at number, children should be able to have a deep understanding of numbers to 10, including the composition of each number. They'll be able to subitize, which means visually recognize quantities without counting, up to 5, automatically recall number bonds to 5, and some number bonds to 10, including double facts. So the key focus here is developing fluency with numbers and mathematical reasoning. Understanding that numbers are made up of smaller numbers, for example 5 equals 2 plus 3, and it also is made up of 4 plus 1. So on the other side we have numerical patterns, where children should be able to verbally count beyond 20, recognising the pattern of the counting system, compare quantities up to 10 in different contexts, recognising when one quantity is greater than, less than, or the same as another quantity. Explore and represent patterns such as odds and evens. So the key focus in numerical patterns is to recognize pattern and and be able to articulate mathematical relationships. So this is all about building problem solving skills. So for example, some practical activities might be for number. We might be using number lines, counters, or dice games, matching games to reinforce number bonds. Whereas in numerical patterns, we would be looking at sorting and grouping objects to identify patterns, singing number songs or rhymes to extend counting beyond 20. So the early learning goals, we teach them both through their maths lessons, but we also think it's really important that children can access these through play. The early learning goals are not a checklist, but part of observing a child's overall mathematical understanding in their daily interactions and activities. Children develop at their own pace, but the focus is on building confidence and enjoyment in maths. The early learning goals are more of a guide to understanding children's progression, and it's not a rigid standard. If children meet the standards set out in the early learning goals, then they will achieve an on-track mark at the end of their reception year. Otherwise, they will be not on track. These judgments are then usually passed on to their Year 1 teachers, which then inform the Year 1 teachers of their lesson plans for the following year. But the curriculum emphasises a maths mastery approach, which means that in early years we focus on that deeper, rich understanding of number and numerical patterns rather than rote learning, for example. So how do we teach maths in early years in order for the children to meet their early learning goals? Well, at Highwood we adopt the White Rose Maths scheme, which you can see on the slide. I've also included the URL for you to go and have a look. What I will say is that if you do click on the URL, make sure that you have selected reception, because I believe it loads on Year 1. So on screen right now, you're looking at an overview of what we teach per week, per term. And what you might notice is that it focuses on small, achievable steps each week, really helping the children to gain that deep understanding of number, helping them to recognise patterns, compare quantities, composition of number as well. So that might be why you look at this and think, oh, it's going really slow. You know, my child, say for example in spring term, week 8, week 10, you might be looking at that saying building 9 and 10. Well, my child can count to 20 and they're in the autumn term. And that is great, but what we really want to see is that child's understanding and recognising quantities, patterns, explaining, reasoning, etc. So that is how we teach maths in early years at Highwood, following the White Rose Maths scheme. Building on from how we teach maths in EYFS, we typically use concrete resources within every single lesson. So concrete resources are things that you can physically use, for example, counters, blocks, any sort of small objects, in order for the children to manipulate them or to see and understand what numbers they are working with. It's all about their visual understanding of a number. It's really important that children are able to have this concrete resource in order for them to build this maths mastery explained in the last slide. So opposed to this, we have the abstract. So this is when we work with numbers in our heads or as written numerals on a page. But in order to be able to do the abstract, we need to have a really confident base using concrete resources, which is why in early years we do a lot of concrete activities for children, so that when they do move on to the abstract, they have that maths mastery there, they have that understanding. So important things for you to remember at home is to always start with the concrete. Don't try and rush to abstract, because that is when complications might arise, frustrations. Until they're really confident with the concrete, then we can start to move to pictorial and maybe abstract. It's not cheating to use buttons, fingers, pasta shapes, whatever you have lying around. That's a really good method at this stage for children to understand and find the answer. Working with written numbers is abstract, so we do not want to see children completing paper work, any sort of thing like that at home or at school. We want them to work with the concrete. So there are a few different ways that parents and carers can help at home. This slide, and I've included a few other slides before we get to the end of the workshop. So when it comes to counting, there are two different counting situations that children may be presented with. The first one is to count a given number of objects. So if you have a set number, you plop it down in front of the child and ask them to count. What we're really looking for is for children to point and particularly to move one object per number name as they're counting. So quite often children might point to a group of number, not touch or move, and then just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 without actually allocating a number per object. The second situation is to count out a specified number of objects. So you might give them a set of objects and ask them to count 5, for example. So the child will then use the method that they learnt before, so counting one number name per object, and then once they got to the required number, so once they've gotten to 5, they stop. And so these two counting situations are really good practices for children to gain an understanding of number, amounts, quantities, etc. One more and one less is quite often a tricky area for children to grasp, particularly one less. So the reason that this may come as quite a tricky thing for children is the meaning of the words more and less. So in order for them to understand what these terms mean, it's important again that children work in concrete, so with physical resources, counters, buttons, pastas, whatever you have lying around. Number lines and number tracks are also quite handy if they're confident with reading numbers. You can also relate the words more and less to other language. So, for example, what do I say before I say 4? What do I say after 5? What is the next number after 2? So all of these different ways that we can phrase one more and one less can really help children with understanding one more and one less. And once again, we'll move on to that in the next slide, but you have the advantage of real life. So if you're out shopping, you might have to buy bananas, for example. You might say to the child, oh, we need one more banana, and the child will then have to work out what does one more mean and then solve that problem. As mentioned in the last slide, you have the advantage of real life and to keep it real. So relating maths back to real life and real life problems that children can solve. So a few examples of these are playing board games and card games, strategy games, real life examples like handling money in shops if you use money, um, a different time in different contexts. You can talk about the calendar or a weekly schedule, sharing out food, making sure everybody's got enough. Is it fair? Is it equal? And really asking the children to explain how they found the answer and if they can explain how they found the answer. That is a lot of what we are looking for in early years, is for children to explain their reasoning. So we're coming to the end of our maths workshop now, and on this slide I have included a few resources that might be helpful for you. Some electric games, they have a lot of apps on their iPads, tablets, laptops, etc. But please try and limit this because quite often they work in the abstract, and remember we want to focus on concrete, so physical objects. Orchard tree games are well designed and have a good range of skills that they build on, so have a good look at them. There are a few internet resources that are free, which is fabulous. So BBC Bite Size is very good, Topic Box, Natural Numeracy, and I've also included the White Rose Education, which is the scheme that we use at school. They have some really good resources on there for parents and carers. There is a couple of books there if you're interested. Thank you for listening to the Maths Workshop. I hope that you've learned something. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We're available anytime at the door or via the email. Just pop us a quick email or ask us something and we're very happy to help. Thank you again and goodbye.